Hello and welcome to this video. What I'm about to share with you is something that I guess a lot of you are not aware of. It concerns interviews in the diversity visa program during the 2 final months of the fiscal year. In a moment, I will return to that. But just before I do, let me take you back to earlier this year where I spoke about the trend that occurs in the diversity visa program when it comes to interviews during the 3 first months or the first quarter of the fiscal year. It has been observed that during the first quarter of the fiscal year, interviews in the diversity visa program are generally low. And that is why in the DV 2024 program, you had visa issuances during the month of October to be less than 2,000, during the month of November to be in excess of 2,000, and during the month of December to also be in excess of 2,000. But as from the month of January, diversity visa issuances increased to around 4,500. That is also expected for the month of February 2024, and moving forward, diversity visa issuances are expected to be anywhere from 4,000 to in excess of 7,000. That is what happens generally in the diversity visa program. Now, what that does is that at the end of the month of July, it causes diversity visa issuances to be still far below the 55,000 visas that are to be issued out during the fiscal year. And that results in so many diversity visa interviews during the months of August and September. It is during those 2 months that most embassies interview so many diversity visa cases. So we can say that during the fiscal year, the graph of issuances in the diversity visa program generally look like this. This graph is from the DV 2022 program, and as you can see at the beginning of the fiscal year, issuance in the diversity visa program were low. But as of the month of January, there was an increase in visa issuances. And that continued up to the month of July, where we had an average number of visas being issued. And then finally, in the 2 final months of the DV 2022 program, we had the highest number of visas issued. For the month of August, we had around 12,000 visas issued, and then for the month of September, we had in excess of 14,000 visas issued. This graph is typical of a diversity visa program year as far as visa issuances are concerned. Perhaps the exceptions to that were during the COVID-19 years when the embassies were closed because of the pandemic and interviews were not conducted, leading to low issuances overall. Or during the DV 2023 program when the authorities were not monitoring the statistics of the program, and that led to a situation different from what this graph is presenting. But apart from those 2 instances, this graph represents what issuances look like in a typical diversity visa program year. Even during fiscal years when all of the 55,000 visas are not issued out, visa issuances in the diversity visa program still look something like this. In other words, whenever the issuances graph look different from what you have on your screen, then it means that somewhere along the line, some other factors came into play and affected how issuances occurred during the program in question. So, in case you would like to have an idea of how visa issuances look in a typical diversity visa program year, then refer to the DV 2022 annual diversity visa issuances graph on Zatition's website. Now, this is the same trend that is expected to happen in your program DV 2024. But there is something very important that I must share with you before I bring this video to an end. Earlier in the video, I indicated that visa issuances from the beginning of the fiscal year up to the month of July generally fall below the 55,000 visas that are supposed to be issued out during the fiscal year. Now, what used to happen in the past is that there was no pressure on the State Department to issue out all of the 55,000 visas. So it is true that the embassies used to put in their best to issue out many visas during those 2 final months of the fiscal year, but they were under no obligation to issue out up to 55,000 visas. So in some years, they issued out 45,000 visas. In other years, 46,000 visas. In other years, 49,000 visas, as they wished. But then the issue of lawsuit came into the diversity visa program, and during the DV 2020 and DV 2021 programs, there were a number of lawsuits in which applicants claimed that they were entitled to the unused visas from the 55,000 visas that should be issued out. And the State Department actually learned from that experience, and so since DV 2022, they have made the effort to issue out all of the 55,000 visas. So at the end of the month of July, visa issuances are expected to still be far below the 55,000. But then it is expected from experience that during the 2 final months of the DV 2024 program, visa issuances will be on a high. Now, it is not just that. Remember, earlier I said that there is a certain pressure on the State Department to issue out all of the 55,000 visas. So at the end of the month of July, in case you see that visa issuances are still low because of those 2 reasons, first of all, the experience from the past, and then secondly, the pressure that exists on the State Department to issue out all of the 55,000 visas, we can expect visa issuances during the 2 final months of the DV 2024 program to be high. That is something that those of you who are still expecting to be scheduled for interview in this year's program can look forward to. That is something you can still have your hopes in. That is why I thought it wise to share it with you in today's video. Now that brings us to the end of this video. Wish you the very best as you look forward to receiving your interview notification as part of the DV 2024 program. Thanks for watching the video. See you, God willing, in the next one. Goodbye.